Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and more Blood and Plunder as we keep working our way through the named and legendary pirates. Today we're taking a look at Black Sam Bellamy, another infamous character. So jumping right into him, so he's kind of a mid-level character as far as points go, right? Not on the super expensive end, but clocking in at a solid 25, so pretty solid investment. Get a choice of two crews. The Golden Age Pirates or the Flying Gang. Seems fairly typical for a lot of these characters, unless they already have a named crew. Like Blackbeard, of course, but you have the two two of the main pirate factions there. Has the standard brace of pistols and standard melee weapon that you see on most of these pirate characters, and again, very good stats as far as command range goes. Right, 12 inches. That's going to cover a lot of ground, especially with his abilities for fighting on the water, and the ever useful 3 command points. So, that being said, that's already a good start for any commander to have, but the special rules really will help kind of make or break how useful they are. So as I mentioned, he is very good at being fielded at sea, although we do get one that we haven't really seen before, which is Misfortune at Sea. We'll cover that here in a second. But Broadside and Commodore are kind of two go-tos, right, for fighting on the water. Broadside, of course, is probably the best as far as just pure offense goes of the abilities here, right? We get to fire all the artillery at the same time, and hence get a more likely than not a chance of really scoring a crit, and crits are going to always be the best way that we deal with enemy ships. We always want to pile on the damage, of course, and just ultimately sink the enemy ship, but a crit is a great way of sometimes basically taking them out of fight very early. If we set them ablaze or cause some holes and they have to deal with flooding, we're going to have their crew get occupied with dealing with that to keep it from spreading. They could ignore it, of course, but those things spread very quickly and then they become almost impossible to deal with. So in that sense, right, we're already going to cause their crew to operate less efficiently in most cases if we cause that kind of crit, but we can also ruin their ability to maneuver, right? Sails, masts, steering, other stuff. Hell, we could even deal direct damage and kill off some crew and other things like that, maybe even take out some of their guns. So crits are just always a wonderful way to do that, and Broadside's going to help us with that. Commodore is another great one, especially if we're playing larger games and we have more than one ship, right? Basically, we get to take the command range that we already have, which is 12, add another 12 inches to it when we're giving orders to units and other ships, and with those 3 command points, we can certainly spread that out to some of our other crews. So perfect there. Very generous command range when we're doing that. That way we don't have to be bunched up and so close to each other when we're playing bigger games with multiple ships. It's very easy to get into bad spots and then being forced to maneuver and maybe collide with yourself or into enemies when you don't want to. So good stuff there. Now then, we're going to save Misfortune for last, just because it is last as well. But he's actually got sort of a super vendetta going on here. Usually we see vendetta when it's just against one country or nation. Here we see it actually against 2, so he hates the English and the Spanish. Vendetta, it can be situational, right? When fighting against a force of the listed nation or nations, or nationalities rather, you can reroll 1 failed die in a rally test. So he's not inspiring. He's not going to inspire those around him to get better chances of rallying with that ability in particular. But when we are facing these 2 nationalities, it does help to have that. Now, that being said, obviously it's nice that it's 2 of the major nationalities. We're going to see a lot of English and Spanish lists out there, but of course we have others. It doesn't mean you're always facing them. Could be fighting other pirates and stuff too. But it is nice when that comes up. But on the other hand, of course, we got to be real. If we're not facing English or Spanish, then that ability is basically just paper or ink on the paper here, right? Last but not least, because we haven't, to my knowledge, seen it yet with any of these characters that we've covered so far. We've covered so many. Misfortune at Sea. So we're just going to read it straight up from the book here. A force that this model is commanding may not spend fortune points to reroll failed checks to run aground, attempt repairs, change sail settings, or perform advanced maneuvers. So some pretty hefty downsides there as far as we don't get to do that with our fortune points. But we still have the normal uses of fortune beyond that. So that's just something that we'll have to, obviously we can't use it. So there's no point in trying to find a loophole or anything around it. We're just going to use fortune for the things that we can still do with fortune points. So a bit of a downside, but again, we have the 2 main upsides here of Commodore and Broadside, and I think that will see us through in a lot of cases. We can avoid having to do some of these maneuvers like run aground, and so on, as far as using fortune points with it, with just using, normal actions and things like that. We'll just have to deal with those things as they come up. Ideally, we're not running a ground period, right? And really repairs and sale settings will have hopefully some good units that are already good at that, and we can dole out some command points and other things as well. So not the end of the world with that, but yeah. So that being said, the question is, of course, does he fit better in the Golden Age Pirates or the Flying Gang? And do you feel he's worth it for 25 points? What points level do you feel like he needs, or does the game need to be at for you to really think about including him? And how does he stack up against some of the other pirates that those two crews can also work for? Let us know in the comments, guys. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll have more Pirates and Blood and Plunder for you soon. Thanks for watching.